Hello and welcome to part 6. So now that we have the Ikinema rig set up and it's behaving as we want it to do, we are ready to move on and remove the hands from the VR template from UE4. And we can do that by going into the virtual reality BP folder and going into blueprints and find the blueprint here. Now the hand mesh is the one that we want to remove. So you do that by just selecting it and pressing delete on your keyboard. So when you compile now, you're going to get a bunch of errors down here. So click on them and you're going to get to the point in the blueprint where we need to do something. Now this first part here is about inverting the scale of the hand to create a left hand. And since we removed it, we can also safely remove all this stuff here. The part here with the collision of the environment, we don't need that either because we are going to be dealing with all this stuff here later on. And then we have something with the animation of the hand mesh, and that is also something we are going to recreate on the full body mesh. So hit delete and then we can compile and we can save. So with that out of the way, let's go to the mannequin folder where we have the character. And right now we only have a body. If we look at this, even though it looks a little bit strange, it is only a body and we're missing the head. The mesh, the body mesh, we should actually rename to be called BodyMesh. And we want to add another skeletal mesh here, which we will call the HeadMesh, like this. And then we want to set this to be the SK mannequin head. And that head is the head that we created in the first video. And just like we have with the body mesh, we will notice that we have an offset, which you can't really see on the screen right now, but I'm just gonna position things so that we can see everything. Okay, so we can see there's an offset of minus 90 degrees, and we want to have that same offset of minus 90 degrees. So right now it's not following anything, but in order to get the head to behave according to the body, we want to hook these two things up, and we can do that in the construction script. So double click here and then drag in the head. We can do that by dragging out from here and type in set master post component, and that is gonna take in a skeleton mesh, which is gonna be the master. So the body is the master and it's gonna control the head mesh. So let's compile and save. And this is only going to take care of the animation. So the position in the world space is something that we need to deal with manually. Now, the problem with the head was that it's going to be obstructing the view because the camera is going to be sitting right on the forehead of us. So now that we added the head, we are going to have the body or the head mesh right in front of the camera, and that's going to turn the screen all black. So in order to deal with that, we will click the head mesh, and up on the details we're going to type in owner, and that is actually an advanced setting under rendering. As you can see here, there's a setting called owner no see. So if this is true, then this component will not be visible for us. So check that one, and then it's not going to be visible for us. The only problem with that is that we're also going to lose the shadow now, and we still want to pretend that we have a head, and we can simulate that by typing in hidden. There's a property found under lighting, it's called hidden shadow. So if this is true, then this primitive will cast a shadow even if it's hidden. So that is very convenient. So check that one. And then we're done with all the details out here. So we can maximize the view again. Or I can, because you don't need to do that. Anyway, let's turn our attention to the positioning in space. Now the positioning in space is going to be driven by the camera position in wall space, aka the HMD. So if we drag out this and break this transform open, then we can see we have the location and the rotation here. We want to set the location and the rotation both for the body and for the head. So that's a very handy note for this. Set weld location and rotation. So copy that and hook that up. So all we need to do now is to figure out where we want to position them, and the location. And this is a little bit interesting. So for now, I'm just gonna feed in this into the location, because I'm gonna demonstrate a little problem with this. I can't really explain too well what this is about. So for now, I'm just going to connect them up, and then we're going to take a look at it in a moment. But let's talk about the rotation here, because the rotation, if you imagine the headset, you can tilt your head to the side, or you can tilt it to the other side. You can also look down, and you can look up. So if you imagine that these rotations are all going to be translated into rotations on the body, then your entire body is going to tilt forward, and that's not what you want it to do. But in case you turn your head to the side, you want the body to turn with it. So that's the yaw we want to have here. So what we need to do is to isolate the yaw from the rotation here. So we do that by breaking this rotator open and then making a new rotator and connecting up only the yaw. Now remember, we had this offset on the mesh here by minus 90 degrees. So we need to construct that offset manually here. So we want to minus 90 degrees and then connect that up. So this is going to give us the rotation, and we can connect that up here. Something like this. So let's give it a test and see what we get out of this. Right. Okay, so what we were looking at here was a few things. One thing was that the feet you could see on the side of my head, and so they were positioned wrongly. So they need to be at a certain position, and you could see the hands were also offset, so they were coming out from the ground, and that is because of this mismatch between the location here. So in order to get this location to be looking a little bit better, we need to offset it. The best way I've found to do this right now, I bet there are better ways of doing this, is to make a vector here, and then taking this location here, and then take the X and the Y, because these are the RoomScale coordinates, and then setting a fixed value for the Z-axis. I'm going to set this to 200, and I came up with these 200 because the position of the head and the mannequin, the position of the head on the mannequin is about 200 centimeters up in the air. That's going to give us a good position for this. So if we connect this up like this, we're going to get something looking hopefully quite a bit better. I'm just going to move this over just a little bit. So let's give it a test more and see how this looks. Okay, so a few observations here from this, and one of them was that I actually forgot to take this location here for the head. So the head was floating like 200 centimeters up in the air or something above. So that is going to sort that out for us. So the other thing I noticed was that it's like the head is, or the camera is positioned like too far behind. So in order to offset it and compensate for it, I'm gonna push the body backwards relative to the direction I'm looking. So the direction I'm looking we can get from the rotation here by getting the forward vector. And then I can multiply this by a fixed amount of, say, 30 centimeters. You can experiment with this and see what gives you a good result. And then we're going to add these two vectors together. That should be it. Okay, so let's give it a final go and hopefully we can get a good result out of this. Okay guys, I'm pretty satisfied with this for this video, so I think I'm going to take a break here and we're going to continue in the next. We have a few things we're still missing, so stay tuned and thank you for watching. Bye bye.